Tim Burton, let's start with the exhibition. I understand that when the museum curators arrived at your front door and started going through your drawers and your cupboards, that their immediate reaction was a bonanza. But I think what they unearthed surprised you too, is that so?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not like this meticulous archivist, I just stuff things in drawers, and they found things like my first projection slips from Disney, things that I'd written on, napkins and things, and it surprised me really. I didn't really realize I'd saved all that stuff.
But also a bit of a trip back, I would think.
Yeah, I don't really, it's like my films, I don't really go back and look at them very much, and it's the same with drawings and things. I never, I do them and then stuff them in the drawer. So it's been quite an amazing experience for me to kind of just revisit things, and it's kind of really re-energized me as an artist. It really excited me to see some of the stuff again.
But only Picasso and Matisse have drawn a bigger crowd at MoMA.
Yeah, well, it's quite surreal. I mean, the thing that made me feel comfortable is that the curators weren't really presenting me as a great filmmaker or artist. It was kind of like showing a process of somebody, and that made me feel more comfortable, because I'd never, pretended to be a great artist or anything. So, and I think that's the great thing for me, is it's just with people that see the exhibition, it's almost like, well, anybody could do it in a certain way, and it kind of is, people that usually don't go to a museum went to the show, so that made me feel good as well.
You said in a Rolling Stone interview nearly 20 years ago that as a child growing up, drawing was a refuge for you, that you always felt distant from your family but close to Edgar Allan Poe and Vincent Price and many monsters from many bad movies, that you took sanctuary in the confines of your own imagination. That sounds like an somewhat isolated childhood in terms of the human connection around you. Is that so?
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with the time. It's kind of sort of late 50s or 60s American suburbia, and it was a kind of culture that wasn't very tactile or emotional, and so I did feel, and I don't know how much time you spent in, let's say, Los Angeles or wherever, but it's a quite isolating city. I don't know, because it's so spread out or whatever, you don't really feel connected to people or things very much. So I think all of that kind of helped create that feeling of isolation and retreating into your own fantasy world, your own mind. But I think a lot of kids did that, but I maybe was a bit more strongly with me. Can
you also describe the year in that basement as an animator with Disney, where, as you say, you were called on both to be an artist and a zombie factory worker?
Yeah, that's why I couldn't do animation anymore. I really couldn't get those two sides of my brain together at the same time. That's why I do really admire animators, because you really are, you have to be a real sort of technical and patience, plus being an artist and breathing life into something. So I really do admire the people that can do it. It's a special gift, really.
But you couldn't draw Disney cute?
No, and unfortunately, when I went there, they were doing Fox and the Hound, which was one of their cuter films, and drawing cute foxes was really not my forte. But I was lucky, because they recognized that and then let me kind of do other things.
How tough was it to break into Hollywood? Because you didn't exactly arrive with a classic Hollywood formula, did you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel quite lucky to have an animation background, because animation, you're kind of forced to, you draw the characters, you draw the backgrounds, you storyboard it, you shoot it, you do the sound editing. So in some ways, it was kind of the complete filmmaking background doing animation, and and then I got to design characters and do short films, which that got me the opportunity to make my first feature film.
If we can take our own retrospective through some of your early films, and Pee-wee put you on the map as far as Hollywood was concerned, I guess, but what inspired Beetlejuice, and was there any therapy for you in making it?
Well, that was my first strange experience in the sense of, because I'd read a lot after Pee Wee. I'd read a lot of scripts that were very just traditional kind of comedy kind of things, and then I got this script that made absolutely no sense and was a very strange, and I couldn't believe any studio wanted to do it. So that was intrigued me to begin with. It was like, so in some ways, and I worked with a lot of people that were like good at improv, like Michael Keaton and some of the other cast members. So it really opened me up to kind of being more spontaneous and thinking about things. And so, and like I said, it was a film that surprised me that a studio wanted to do it, and that's why I had such a great time with that film.
And what about the character? Decidedly unattractive, but
yeah, well, he was very
to do
vague.
he wanted.
Yeah, no, it was a very vaguely written character. Originally, I actually wanted Sammy Davis Jr. to play it, and that really freaked the studio out. But I was lucky that it was Michael Keaton, and he, again, like I said, it was a real collaboration because he was so good at doing like improv and kind of coming up with stuff, and I really, really enjoyed that. And so it was a real organic movie, that one. It was much more organic than, say, Pee Wee, which had a definitive script. This one was just sort of all over the place.
And Edward Scissorhands just came right out of your head, didn't it?
Yeah, that really is probably one of the more personal ones to me, just because that was how I felt as a teenager and young adult, and adult as well. That sort of, and that goes back to my love of sort of classic monster movies, where the monsters are actually the more emotional characters, and they may look a certain way, but inside they have a whole other emotional thing going on. So that's probably one of the more personal ones for me.
But autobiographical in many ways, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like I said,
I think you've said that you went through a period where you didn't want to touch anyone, you didn't want to be touched.
Yeah, I felt very flinched because, again, not coming from a very tactile family, I had a lot of Italian friends, and you'd see the Italian, their families always hugging each other and kissing each other, and I didn't really have that in my background. So if somebody came and tried to hug me, I would kind of flinch, or just wasn't used to that sort of tactile behavior. So again, that's sort of where Edward Scissorhands came from. When
you showed Johnny Depp your Scissorhand drawings, he said that he was traumatised by them, haunted by them. They obviously influenced how he came to see the role. Have you found that effective, communicating with your actors through the drawings?
Well, some. I mean, because my drawings are not very sophisticated, so I've always been lucky to work with certain collaborators that can just look at something not very complicated or crude and get the feeling of it, and because it's that's why I don't do storyboards of it. It's like when somebody can look at something and it be crude and rough, but get the essence and feeling of it, that I know is a good collaborator for me. Somebody that gets it.
Well, Johnny Depp said of you very early in your collaboration with him that, quote, he's an artist, a genius, an oddball, an insane, brilliant, brave, hysterically funny, nonconformist, honest friend. I guess you just had to keep going with him after